Hello and welcome to day 16 of my advent calendar full of amazing Christmas stories for you to enjoy and listen to it. And I hope all of you listen to my full story, subscribe to my channel because it really helps me a lot. Give a like to this video, comment down below if you have like ideas or titles maybe for me to turn them into amazing stories. So without further to do, until next story, stay safe. Peace.
In 2023, the magic of Christmas had faded, especially for children. The malls were filled with gadgets, VR sets, and the latest tech, leaving little room for thoughts of Santa, sleighs, or reindeer. Kids celebrated Christmas because they were supposed to, not because they believed in its magic. They questioned their parents, asking, "Why do we even celebrate Christmas anymore?" This was the case for most families in the modern world, including a family in a small city in England. The family had two children, Ellie, a curious 10-year-old girl, and Max, her mischievous 7-year-old brother. Just like their peers, they didn't think much about Christmas beyond the presents they expected to receive. Their parents, both busy doctors, often left the children at home while they worked long hours at the hospital. This year, however, there was a growing concern. A dangerous man was reportedly on the loose in the area, and the parents feared leaving Ellie and Max alone. So, they decided to hire a nanny to watch over the kids while they worked through Christmas Eve. On December 23rd, the nanny arrived. She was not at all what they had expected. Old, frail-looking, with a mysterious air about her, Mrs. Merriweather seemed like someone from another time. The parents, in their rush to get to work, were doubtful at first but ultimately accepted that she would suffice. They hurriedly gave her instructions and left, hoping everything would be fine. Mrs. Merriweather was different from any nanny Ellie and Max had ever known. She had no interest in gadgets, screens, or games. Instead, she sat them down in front of the fireplace and, with a twinkle in her eye, offered to tell them a Christmas story. The children groaned, thinking it would be another boring old tale, but there was something captivating about the way she began to speak. "This story," she said softly, "is about a time long ago, when Christmas was almost lost forever." The children, despite themselves, leaned in closer. Mrs. Merriweather told them about a girl, much like Ellie, who once met a boy named Jack. One cold Christmas Eve, they stumbled upon an ancient secret, a plan by a bitter man named Grizzlethorn, who sought to rid the world of Christmas forever. Grizzlethorn hated the joy and warmth that Christmas brought, and he believed that if he could destroy the spirit of Christmas, people would stop believing in it. Jack and the girl met a group of elves, led by a wise and kind elf named Isolde. Together, they uncovered Grizzlethorn's plan to steal the star from the top of the world's tallest Christmas tree, a star that held the essence of Christmas magic. Without it, Christmas would fade into memory, forgotten by all. But the girl and Jack, with the help of Isolde and the other elves, embarked on a daring adventure to stop Grizzlethorn and save Christmas. The children were completely enthralled by the story. Ellie, usually skeptical of anything that seemed like baby stuff, found herself imagining what it would have been like to be that girl. Max, wide-eyed, asked, "Did they save Christmas?" Mrs. Merriweather smiled and continued, describing how Jack and the girl confronted Grizzlethorn in his lair, high up in the mountains. With bravery and teamwork, they managed to outwit the villain, restore the Christmas star, and bring the magic of Christmas back to the world. By the time the story was over, the children were quiet, thinking about what they had heard. Max, in awe, whispered, "That was the best story ever." Ellie, more skeptical, asked, "But, how do you know this story?" It's not like any I've heard before. Mrs. Merriweather chuckled softly. Ah, my dear. Some stories aren't just told. Some are lived. The night passed, and when morning came, Mrs. Merriweather prepared to leave. As she reached for her coat and hat, she made a small mistake. In adjusting her bun beneath her hat, she accidentally lifted it too high. Ellie, with her sharp eyes, caught a glimpse of something strange, something impossible. An ear. But not just any ear. It was pointed and delicate, not like a human ear at all. Ellie gasped, and Max, noticing her reaction, turned to see what she was staring at. Mrs. Merriweather quickly pulled her hat down, but it was too late. The children stared at her, eyes wide in disbelief. You're an elf," Ellie blurted out. Mrs. Merriweather froze for a moment, then gave a small, knowing smile. "Perhaps," she said cryptically. "But remember, not all magic is meant to be understood. Some is simply meant to be believed." With that, she tipped her hat, gave them both a wink, and stepped out the door, leaving the children standing in awe. As the snow began to fall softly outside, Ellie and Max exchanged glances. They both knew, in their hearts, that the story Mrs. Merriweather had told wasn't just a story, it was her story. And suddenly, for the first time in years, they felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. They believed. And from that day on, Christmas was never the same again. The end.